All right, let's get right into it. Have you ever been watching a show and suddenly realize you're actively rooting for the bad guy to win? It's a weird feeling, isn't it? Cheering for someone who breaks every rule in the book, and yet we do it all the time. So today, we're going to unpack the fascinating psychology behind why we're so drawn to these messed up, morally gray characters.
Just think about it for a sec. You know who I'm talking about. That crime boss, that brooding assassin, that rebel who couldn't care less about the rules. I'm willing to bet a few names are popping into your head right now.
Maybe you're thinking of Walter White from Breaking Bad, a regular chemistry teacher who turns into a terrifying drug kingpin, supposedly for his family. We know what he's doing is all kinds of wrong, but you just can't look away, can you?
Or hey, what about a character like the Joker? Especially the Joaquin Phoenix version, a guy who has just completely failed by society and decides to rebel against the system he sees as a total sham.
And you can't forget a legend like Omar Little from The Wire. I mean, sure, he's a stick-up man who robs drug dealers, but the man has a code. He was such a fan favorite that the writers literally had to keep him on the show way longer than they ever planned to.
And look, this isn't just some old trend. It's still happening. Think about a more recent character, like Yelena Belova from the Marvel Universe. She's a trained assassin with a super sharp wit and a really complicated past, and we totally find ourselves on her side. So, that weird kind of uncomfortable feeling you get when you're cheering for a criminal, that little tug-of-war in your head between "this is bad" and "but I totally get it." Well, as you might have guessed, psychology has a name for that exact thing.
It's called cognitive dissonance. The idea, which came from a psychologist named Leon Festinger, is basically that our brains crave consistency. They hate being confused, so when we watch someone like Walter White, our brain is trying to hold two totally opposite ideas at once. One, criminals are bad, and two, I really like this criminal. That clash creates this kind of mental static that our brains are just desperate to get rid of. Let me give you a super simple example. It's like when you decide, okay, today I'm going to eat healthy, and then you eat a donut. Your belief, I'm healthy, is now in direct conflict with your action, I'm eating sugar. That little pang of guilt you feel? Yep, that's dissonance. Now imagine that feeling, but 100 times stronger when we're dealing with an anti-hero. Our brain has to work way harder to fix it.
So how does our brain get rid of that discomfort? Well, we can't exactly reach into the TV and change the character's behavior, so we have to change our own minds. We start doing these incredible mental gymnastics. We tell ourselves things like, well, he's not really a villain. He's just a product of his circumstances. Or we add a new thought like, hey, the people he's going after are even worse than he is. We basically become lawyers for the bad guy, building a case in our minds for why it's okay to root for them.
And boy, once our brains start down that path, it is incredibly hard to turn back. Festinger himself put it perfectly. He basically said that once a person is committed to reducing that dissonance, you can show them all the facts and logic in the world, and they'll just find a way to ignore it or twist it to fit their belief. Festinger actually proved this in this amazing experiment. He had people do a super boring task. Then, he paid one group $20 to tell the next person that the task was really fun. He paid another group just $1 to do the same thing. Now, the $20 group, they had an easy excuse. They knew they were lying, but hey, it was for good money. But the $1 group, they had almost no reason to lie. So to get rid of that uncomfortable feeling, their brains did something incredible. They actually convinced themselves that the task was fun. They literally changed their own memory to justify what they did.
So what in the world does lying for $1 have to do with rooting for a fictional assassin? Well, everything. It shows just how far our minds will go to get rid of that internal conflict. And when we watch an anti-hero, that is the exact same mental process kicking into high gear. Here's the battle happening in your head. On one shoulder, you've got the thought, this guy is a murderer, a criminal, full stop. But on the other shoulder, there's this little voice whispering, yeah, but his struggle feels so real. I kind of get why he's doing it. Maybe it's even justified. And to stop that fight, our brain creates what you could call a mental alibi. We start cherry-picking the evidence. We focus on their tragic backstory, like Batman's parents. We reframe what they're doing as some kind of noble rebellion. We tell ourselves their crimes are just about survival. And, this is the big one, we convince ourselves that deep down they have a secret heart of gold.
And listen, this isn't just a guess. This is backed by science. A University of Michigan study with hundreds of people, kids and adults, found that we are way more likely to believe a villain is secretly good than to believe a hero is secretly bad. It's like we're hardwired to look for that little spark of good in the worst people.
But hold on, because it's not just about what's happening inside our own heads. There's a much bigger picture here. The reason these anti-heroes feel so right now, has a lot to do with what's happening out there, in the real world.
As Professor Tom Roach puts it, anti-heroes tend to pop up and become really popular when we're all feeling a little lost. When there's this general feeling that our leaders are failing us, that our institutions can't be trusted, and that the lines between right and wrong are getting super blurry, suddenly, the anti-hero starts to make a whole lot of sense.
Just think about the difference. A classic hero, right? They work with the system. They play by the rules because they believe the system is just. But the anti-hero, they look at that same system and say, nope, it's broken, it's corrupt, I'm doing things my own way. And when we, the audience, feel like the system is broken, that message, well, it really hits home.
So the next time you find yourself cheering for the villain, just remember, it's not simply about enjoying a cool story. It's actually this fascinating little window, not just into how your own brain works, but maybe into what we're all feeling and worrying about as a society.
So, let's just break it all down one last time real quick. 1, we like a bad guy and our brain kind of freaks out. 2, that feeling has a name, cognitive dissonance. 3, our brain immediately starts to fix this by making excuses for them. And 4, this whole process gets dialed up to 11 when we start losing faith in our real-world heroes and institutions.
Which kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. If our screens are more and more filled with heroes who have to operate outside the law because the system itself has failed, what does that say about our trust in the real-world systems that are supposed to protect us? Kind of makes you think, doesn't it?